Canine Detection Collaborative, a detection dog training trio with Stacy Barnett.
Hi.
Robin Grubel.
Hey there.
And Crystal Wing.
What's up?
With humor and a big dose of theory, our trio talks practical training advice and features interviews with top trainers and scientists. It's Canine Detection Collaborative.
Hi, everyone. This is Stacy Barnett from Canine Detection Collaborative, and I'm here with my two amazing co-hosts, Robin Grubel.
Hello.
Crystal Wing.
For a second, I thought you forgot our names. It was a momentary,
The funny thing is, all of a sudden, you ever have your mind go completely blank?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but our names are on the screen,
it went blank there, and you just kind of notice.
If you look on the screen at Zoom, their names are right there.
It's one of those things. No. I know. We were just talking about swapping brains. And,
Yeah.
I don't know. My brain, apparently my brain just wasn't even on the call.
I have it on Australian accent on my phone, and so it always says Groibel. And so on one of the episodes, I was like, and I'm here with Robin Grubel.
No, it's just so funny. It's just so funny. But hey, hi everybody. We're really happy.
So we got the little.
Welcome to our world here. This is how we roll.
It's a little off guard because what happened is we just got done interviewing Tazzie Winkler.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for hooking that up. That was so great.
She's taking over my intro. Do you see how that's
I did. Sorry.
Robin is taking over because she's like, Stacy, you've completely messed that one up.
No, it actually has more to do with the fact that we were having this discussion on what are we going to talk about. And all of a sudden, I'm like riffing on something and Crystal's like, press the record button. Press the record button. So
we're still in that moment.
Yes, we are. And then so we had to stop and press the record button so we could finish that whole particular train of thought.
And apparently my brain hadn't reloaded yet.
No, your brain hadn't reloaded.
It hadn't reloaded yet. But anyway, we're really happy to have you guys here listening to us. But no, we had a fantastic time. Just, I got to listen and it was just amazing listening to Tazzie. And she is just such an engaging, incredible human. And I was just sitting here going, wow, like it was kind of like this whole like storytelling type of thing. And I just got a sense from her that she is like the real deal when it comes to, somebody who can really connect and really like understand and really train a dog. Like it was just so fascinating just listening. It was amazing. The things that she said, it was just so, and this is what we were kind of like talking about when Crystal's like, press the button, right? We were talking about how it was the profound, listen to the dog conversation. And we were talking about like, that's definitely what you need to do, but it's not always as common as we would like, and that's where like press the button. And then I lost my brain. So,
and it was one of the things that has, I think about on a regular basis when she was talking about, think about what the dog is seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to adjust from there. When we have thumbs, we can't outsmart them.
Right.
I think about this a lot when I'm setting up really far distance directionals. Because, I'll set up my buckets and I'll walk back to what I think should be the start position. And I get down on my hands and knees to look and see, can my dog see where I'm going to send them? And sometimes the answer is no.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're not at that stage of training that yet that I can fade it that far.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so her whole idea of, just really thinking about the fearful dogs that she's now working with. Dogs aren't going to lie to you. No, they're not going to give you the finger.
No.
Right? What is the motivation for what they're doing? And it's if you can figure that out, you can actually go back and adjust some of your training. So maybe that conflict no longer exists.
Yeah. And actually, one of the comments you just said about dogs don't lie to you, like that is, as soon as I heard that, that's like I hear that all the time in nose work. Oh, my dog lied. My dog lied. And for me, it's kind of like this, like fingernail chalkboard. I don't want to use the word pet peeve because I guess there was a whole conversation that Crystal was in. There's a personal peeve and the pet peeve.
Oh,
Right.
And I'm like, my dog's person peeve is that I can't read the mind, which is actually very true. But that's what it is. It's like when I hear someone say my dog lied, and I'm like, no, your dog did a behavior that you've reinforced.
Yes.
And
yeah,
you've reinforced it. You've trained it. And just because it happened to happen in a location that didn't meet with your expectations may have meant that you did something to trigger that, but because you didn't read everything that the dog did right ahead of time, you don't know that the dog wasn't actually in odor. So, it's one of those things where it's just, for me, it just kind of, that's a trigger. That is a personal trigger there.
Well, dogs do what gets them paid.
Exactly.
And they know their motivations. We don't.
Mm-hmm.
We can guess. I loved the conversation that we had around recognizing the difference between hyperactivity and drive.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I also see in the working dog world a lot of hyperactivity that gets mistaken for drive.
Yep.
And give me a silent, motivated dog all day long.
I just want a silent one.
Yes.
Sorry, Brav, you didn't hear that.
Yes, I want silent, motivated dog all day
motivated.
long. And I talk a lot about that. I want a dog that is incredibly calm, and when I release the explosion goes in the direction that it has been pointed.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't do that with the dog that has, is basically oozing all over the place.
In the sport world, it feels like, and we had a nice talk with Jens about this, it seems that a lot of, especially here in the States, a lot of trainers seem to want the very highly aroused dog that is really flashy and really driven because they can get the behaviors in a really flashy way. So that really high prance, the really fast finish. And I think you have to really know what you're looking for, and also different ways of training different behaviors. I don't know. I mean, I know for myself, for sure, I don't want a high arousal dog. It's just, I don't want that kind of French twitch, crazy Malinois. That's just not what I'm looking for. I want a little bit lower arousal so that they can think and they don't have to react so fast. And I think that they can still look as powerful. And they look powerful in a different way, in my opinion.
Yes.
Very humble opinion.
That's actually the challenge I have with Powder, because she's got the drive, but she's also extremely high arousal. And that's actually what makes her really challenging in a lot of ways. But I look at Prize, who has a slightly lower arousal, but just as much drive. And it is definitely easier to channel, that's for sure. Yeah, that was super interesting to listen to, and it was just great conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate her sharing about her first dog.
Yeah.
Because the opportunity for a dog to teach you that much and be open and kudos for her too, for recognizing that unfortunately she trained a lot of things in a dog that she's now not going to get out of the dog to get the dog to do the thing that she wanted the dog to do, but it doesn't mean that it's any less of a good dog.
Yeah.
If you followed that whole train of thought.
Mm-hmm.
I see this in a lot of search and rescue people. They find search and rescue after they've had a dog for 2 or 3 years, and they're now asking this dog that they've never tried to put guardrails on to, now you have to have guardrails.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true that the hard dogs teach you the most.
Yeah.
So we know my story. I mean, I could talk about Yukon all day long.
Oh,
but here was a big thing that has hit me recently. I have my memories that pop up on Facebook, and I love making content for my page, my CBK9, and it only lets you go out a couple months at a time.
Which is really annoying, by the way, for
It is.
anybody in Meta who's paying attention to our little tiny podcast. I'd really like to schedule out the whole year. Thank you.
I have a great post for June 21st. Come on, let me go a little further. But it's only let me go into May right now.
I haven't posted in like a week or 2 weeks.
I just love making things and sharing things, and
you guys are amazing.
It's just like a little carrot for myself when I do something. Like, yeah, now I'm gonna look at my memories. But anyway,
and you're so good at it.
I'm looking at all these posts, and I realized I think almost like 9 posts in a row were all about Yukon, because he's taught me so much. It was, oh, look at this funny one. A treat landed on his head, and he's standing there like, I don't know where it is, and then the next one that I'm posting is, I wrote this real long thing about, I didn't know it at the time, but I've learned it now. I knew that it was a problem, but I kind of laughed it off at the moment. And he had his nose stuck to the odor at Purina. We're in a dog play yard. Like, it's a pee yard, a potty yard. And he goes in there and he's like, oh, potty yard. And I hang the odor on the fence, and he got a whiff and he was like, oh, and went over, and he would not leave the odor. Like, his nose was glued to the thing. And so I'm like, Mark, which means come bite the toy. And he's like, I'm not doing that. So I'm like, eat, which means come eat your favorite food, which I thought I had his favorite food. And he's like, can't do that. I had to go over and stick it in between his nose and the little thing to get him to even eat it. And then I could break him away to treat toss. And on his way back, he went right back to the odor. So you would think, what's the problem with that? Do you know what it is?
How can you get him to do anything else?
Yeah.
Right.
And so then if it's an odor that's not the one that I want to train him on, that he becomes fixated on, there's nothing else higher in the world. Issue.
Yeah.
And so I would have trainers all the time. They're like, you just have to be exciting or more fun than dirt. And I'm like, dude, you don't understand. Oh. That is his favorite thing in the whole world, is to sniff dirt and anything that was in that dirt and all the pee mail that was left behind. There's no way anything else could be higher. I mean, and so I'm really proud of myself. I think that's okay to say. That I really have created reinforcements with him through this empathy of recognizing he's maybe not the normal dog that I had hoped for, and that he has to be treated way special. And I think that connection that she talked about, he has taught me so much, and I'm so thankful for that. And yeah, it really hit me when we were talking to her. I was like, oh my gosh, Yukon, and all my are about Yukon, and I'm so thankful.
Yeah. Gosh, every one of our dogs. I was just thinking about this the other day, where I looked down at Powder, and she really is a tough dog in a lot of ways, and she's really pushed me in ways that I hadn't really expected, and I hadn't really anticipated with my other dogs. And I just was thinking about how every one of our dogs just gives us that gift. And sometimes that gift is kind of unexpected and something that we didn't quite, anticipate. And, and sometimes the tough ones, it's what they give you is a gift. And I love it.
And it's after having, going through so many dogs. And I know people might kind of laugh at me because each one of my dogs in my head has a color associated with it. And yes, they have collars that are those colors. I know Stacy can appropriately.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And so like even Flash's.
I'm an art teacher. Come on.
I know. So
I'm with you.
So like Flash's color is pink. I don't have a pink dog.
Watch what you wish for, because I've got Miss Hot Pink over there. And let me tell you, that whole pink red thing. Oh,
it's her thing.
All day.
And so she's got a ladybug collar on right now that's pink and red, right? So I figure I'm going to try and go with that whole thing. And I am at the point where I have to do some of that collar thing because it reminds me which dog I'm dealing with. And what's really funny is sometimes I pulled out a toy the other day. And I've got Miss Ember who's like, no, I want to retrieve everything. I'm just going to bring it back and throw it at you. And I pull out the fuzzy ball the fuzzy tug with the ball on the end that gives me bruises on my shins. She wouldn't let go. And I am like, what demon possessed your body? But rock on, this is fun. And Flash also loves that toy. And actually, I think every puppy on the planet loves that toy. So we'll include that in the show notes. But I was watching this and I'm like, where did this dog come from? This is not the dog that I thought I had. And so going back and really thinking about, I have her reward toy. It's a ball on a string. But seeing her come out like Jaws for a fuzzy ball on a string, I was like, okay, game on. So I think it's really important to listen to that. Okay, your dog might be telling you all sorts of different things. So, yeah.
So I want to talk about her name of her dog training. Do you remember exactly what it was? Was it Empathic Dog, I think?
Empathic Dog Training Academy. I wrote it down.
So she talked a lot about empathy. And when she said that empathy was her number one thing that she felt made a good handler or trainer that came into the program, it's something that we work hard on in the art class as one of our kind of character traits. And we even used it as one of our art skills. And so that's one of the beauty things that I get to do as an art teacher is that we can have different themes. And so empathy, identity, gratitude, those are all ones that I find really important. And when I teach about empathy, I use the way it mnemonic of taffy because I like taffy. It's sweet. And when you have empathy, it's sticky sweet like taffy. But anyway, so taffy is TAFE. And so it's about thoughts and then actions and then feelings. And that's what creates empathy. And you can't have just one of them to have the full aspect of empathy, but all three. And when you ask high school kids what empathy is, I think they confuse it with sympathy a lot of times. And it's fascinating to watch how they learn and they grow. And it's about understanding others. It's really what comes down to the heart of it. And I love how she said about it's the best way to make connections. So when you take these ideas of your thoughts, your actions, your feelings, you combine them together, that's the way to create relationships. And in humans, they say that relationships are the top predictors of professional success, personal success, and longevity. If that transfers to dogs, which I kind of think it would, I mean, I don't know science behind it, but wouldn't that be cool if we're saying that being empathic with our dog builds the relationship, and relationships are the top predictors of success and longevity? That's kind of a cool little, maybe it's a reach, but it's kind of a cool thing to think about. And there's typically three kinds of empathy that we talk about. There's the cognitive, the emotive, and the empathic action. And so the cognitive, that's like, can you walk in somebody else's shoes? And that's the first kind. And that's typically where people stop. It's really when you start to add all three together. So the emotive, that's the, your pain in my heart kind of thing. It's the feeling. It's not separate from, but it's part of the cognitive side of it. So can you walk in my shoes? Can you feel similarly to how I do, but without taking on too much? You know how that goes. And then the empathic action. And that's where I love that she called it was Empathic Dog, right?
Empathic Dog Training Academy. Yes.
So empathic action, that's doing part of the empathy. That's going beyond just understanding others and sharing their feelings. It's actually moving you to take action to help however you can. And Stacy, that goes back to what you said about her, that's what you felt from her. So what a beautiful name when she said she couldn't really figure out what she wanted to do. It's perfection, because that's exactly what it is. And when you're trying to build empathy, and I try to build that with my kids, there's basically three things that you start to kind of ask a person, or you start to ask them to kind of to practice this empathy. And one of them, and I wonder if this can work with dogs. And I don't know. I'm just now riffing because that's what we do.
I love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Go for it. Go for it. I love your brain.
Yes.
I'm just taking the stuff we do at school and kind of
That's amazing.
It's
amazing. Keep going. Keep going.
So there's three parts whenever I'm trying to help kids kind of practice emotional intelligence and kind of not succumbing to some of the pitfalls of empathy where you take on too much or it becomes sympathy. But the first step is you always focus on the how and why. So you're thinking about how the other, say, being feels and why they're feeling that way. And I think with dogs, we can say even how are they behaving and why are they behaving that way? The second thing is that you always advise them to ask, do you want help? So before you just offer the help, sometimes the other being doesn't want help. I don't know if that transfers as well to the dogs, but I think the third one really does.
Yeah.
And it's to offer suggestions and not answers.
Yeah.
And that's what I think makes really good dog trainers are the ones that understand how to offer suggestions and not just provide all the answers for their dog. Don't show them where the odor is, but set up the environment in a way that they can get the behavior, or set up the environment that they can discover the odor. And I love how you guys talked about, it was like a guitar, I think, or a piano, or what was the music one you said, Stacy? It was so beautiful. And I'm like, oh, I'll never forget that. And then I forgot it. But I remember the gist of it.
I don't even know what.
It was one of the episodes. And you guys had talked about, it was like, it was so beautiful. I have to find it again. But it was like playing the guitar or playing the piano or music, or it was something related to that. But it was about letting odor be the thing that guides them, the thing that teaches them. But it was a great analogy you made. I'll have to go back and find it.
Oh, I don't know about the music, but I think we were more talking about like painting more. It was more like
Was
the
it
art side
painting?
of it, right?
It was
Painting the
art.
picture.
The art.
It was
Their
art.
nose,
That's right. That's
their
right.
nose
That's right.
is painting.
That's what it
odor
was. That's right.
movement.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get a feeling of something and I can't quite
No,
remember what it was.
it's a cool idea though. It's a really cool idea.
yes.
I'm like sitting here like, can we like, expand on that? Because that's just kind of a neat idea.
So that's my little riff. I'll let y'all kind of.
No, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, for a while, but it's just I'm just bringing in all those empathy thoughts, and that's wow.
Yeah.
I love this empathic. What a great name.
Yeah.
So I know we're going to talk about a topic called resilience later, but that actually, all of what you just said just kind of triggered for me is when we're kind of building that, and it's maybe something we want to talk about in a later episode, but how when we start to really kind of understand how the dog is feeling, and when you start figuring out like what energizes, what gets that dog really excited about searching, and you can set your hides in a way that they can kind of, they can kind of dig deep in that. And oh, now I'm losing it. Dang. Okay. So the last bit of it, the empathic. Okay, you had those two pieces. What were those again?
You have the cognitive, the emotive, and the empathic action.
Yeah.
So the cognitive, you could be in someone else's shoes. It's like, go walk in my shoes.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because you don't want to show the dog. You want the dog.
Yeah. So the three questions was focus on the how and why. So how they feel and why they feel. And then do you want help? And then offer suggestions. And that's how you become more empathic.
Yeah. And it's just and like, I know this is like, it's 3 steps removed at this point, but yeah, it's the whole, I always think like building resilience is also helping the dog to kind of learn to work it out themselves rather than showing them.
And don't leave them hanging.
Yes.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because then they lose their confidence.
And I think that's the second part of the want help that I couldn't really see if it fit dogs, but I think it does, because
it does.
Well,
it totally does.
I was just talking with a client today, and she made the comment about the fact that her dog doesn't like to be wrong. And, or if she has to even provide too many corrections. And when I'm talking corrections, I'm talking like no reward marker corrections.
Yeah.
Right. The dog's like, I'm out. And I was like, I understand that, because when you train with a border collie, you learn that, and then you train with British Labs and you learn it again. And it goes back to Tazzie's comment of we have thumbs.
Yeah.
So how about we think about our training a little bit more, and we manipulate the environment to make sure that our progression plan is clear for the dog. So then the dogs don't get the chance to make incorrect decisions like she was talking about. They don't ever learn how to do some of the incorrect stuff that we then have to try and go back and fix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that is something that I am still always reminded as a trainer when I go out and do something about how we don't really take into consideration manipulating our environment as much as we really, really should, especially when we're trying to help dogs generalize a behavior.
Yeah.
Some of these conversations, it's like, oh, maybe you need to think about that one a little bit more.
Well, even when you said that your client, what was it? The dog doesn't like to be wrong.
Yes.
Or, I mean, can we say that for basically every organism?
Pretty much.
We like to be right. We like to have success. I mean, I don't know many people or things that are like, yeah, mess that one up.
Wrong again. All right.
I mean, I sometimes I wonder, but I mean, and usually if it's that kind of acting out, it's a longer, bigger problem. And I'm thinking more about humans than dogs, but I just think if we can be consistent, like she talked about. I love how she said it's very simple. And I love when Yen says something about at the SWDI seminar that you can either have pre-Mac, pre-Mac will help you or it can own you basically.
Yes.
And she gave the example, and I know he said it way better, but she gave the example of they're pulling to get into bite work.
Right.
And all you have to do is pre-Mac that and say, guess what? You have to walk nicely on a leash.
Like a civil dog.
Gonna be consistent about this if you want to do that thing. And that's just consistency. And I was just chatting with a friend too, and she was frustrated because of a webinar that she had bought. And she's like, oh my gosh, the advice was just not there for me. It's just, well, if you have a good relationship, none of that will happen. She's like, well, I have it. And are you telling me now that I don't have a good relationship? And so that's a tough thing to say. And I reminded her of the consistency because the dog's barking a lot and it's annoying. And so I remind her, I'm like, well, I have a thing of cookies on my front door, like next to it on my front door and my back door. And if anything, it's a reminder visually for me that I have to be consistent. Then when we walk in and out of this door, this is a consistent thing. If I don't have cookies in my pocket already, I'm going to grab a couple. They're right there. It's convenient. And I'm going to make sure that we rehearse going in and out of thresholds like civil beings.
Like sophisticated dogs.
Yeah.
Yes.
So sometimes I have to set up my environment for myself to remind me to be kind and consistent to my dog. And so if I have to put a visual thing like a little jar of cookies hanging on the wall, well, that's what's going to happen.
And I so felt her comment today about the dogs wanting to go into the building to the point where it's like pulling you over. Because Nico just after this episode later,
yeah, that's right.
He came off of 3 weeks of crate rest.
Oh gosh.
You could see his skin at training on Saturday, and it was like electric things running up and down his spine because he's like, oh my gosh, I get to do things. He was so wound that the whole concept of him walking like a civilized dog into a building to go do anything, he could barely compute.
Yeah. I guess.
And so I came off of that training saying, okay, I have a really nice heel in my basement. That's about the only place I have one at the moment. And I am going to have to work really hard with him because he's now 5.
Yeah.
You know what, though? He's so smart. And that's what you have going for you. And he's going to pick up so fast because he knows I want what I want. And the only way I can get it is when I do this thing done.
Right.
He's smart and he's driven. And when you put those two things together, if you put the right circumstances and consistency together,
it will be
magic.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Yes. And it requires patience on my part.
Yes. It's consistency and patience on your part. And he's beautiful too, because he doesn't have that crazy high arousal.
Yeah.
He's
Correct.
he's high, but he's not like, I can't think, I have to move every second.
Yeah.
Right. And so, it's always really humbling when you come back to the lack of my dog's behavior is because I haven't trained it.
Yeah, I'm feeling kind of attacked on that one. I'm hearing you guys talk about like dogs walking nests in the buildings. I'm like,
but it depends on what energy you have and what is important to you. And that's where, I'll admit straight away, the only dog that has any sort of leash manners is kind of Radish because I'm only kind of consistent.
Yeah.
And she also is one that she doesn't enjoy pulling as much unless it's like when we very first get out of the van and she's got to go to the bathroom. Yep. And so then it's like, no, you have to walk for a second decent. And then I'm like, okay, we run together to go to the bathroom,
Yeah.
So that consistency piece is very important. And when you start off with a stronger foundation, like she said, and don't let them rehearse behaviors you don't want, it's not going to be as hard. And I think that's why we get so overwhelmed with puppies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because we don't want all of the things and they're learning how to dog in our world. And we're like, okay, here's how you dog in my world. And if you can set it up so smooth in the beginning, it's such a beautiful thing.
My mind actually goes to something because right now I'm just getting done teaching my 101 class, right? And at the end so I always start the dog searching first, and then we do containers later because I want the dogs really understanding odor before they have to actually select, right? Because I find that that's a little bit more stressful on dogs. And we've had conversations. There's a couple dogs that are a little bit higher drive, and I could see that if we don't have really good behaviors at the containers now, that it could snowball into something that you're going to have to spend a lot of time to fix. So is the whole idea of let's look at consistent alert behaviors now and not have to fix something later, having had to do a train final response with powder after the fact, knowing how long it took me. It looks really good now. It works great, but I know it was a lot of work. So the whole idea of consistency early on so that you don't have to have a lot to do later kind of deal.
I think too, adding in new behaviors doesn't have to be as hard as sometimes I know that I try to make it. I try to put this time aside and I try to think about what I want to train. And it's just about getting a couple reps here and there.
Yeah.
And that's really all it takes. And it's cool to see that cumulative effect. I was having a nice conversation with Nancy today. It was actually about you, Stacy.
Just so you know, in case your ears were burning.
Oh, no. Oh, I'm worried.
No, don't worry. And we were talking about some of the canine conditioning and about the offered pause and, and I like how she said that, when our dogs are working, they're like, don't touch me.
Yeah.
Then, oh my gosh, her German Shepherd is a don't touch me, I'm working. Okay. And already he's a don't touch me dog, and he's not like, don't cuddle me. I'm not a cuddling dog. And so he's been and he's been very serious his whole life. Yeah. And she's turned him into a little bit of a mush in some ways. And it's hilarious, but she's done it by pre-macking going outside. And so when they go to the back door, or the sliding door, wherever she is, the only way to get to go out is let me squitch your butt. And he's like, oh my gosh, scritch my butt. Okay, fine. Let me go.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Oh my God. It's so great. And then it's let me kiss your forehead. And then he gets to go out. And then it's let me scratch your knee. And then let me touch your toes and let me move your tail. Like all this silly stuff to where not just in a short amount of time, he goes to the door and he has a little tail wag. Like, what are you going to do this time? What are you going to do this time? And so then it's let me pick your foot up. And, and he's driven to go. He wants to go outside. But that's how she started a lot of her canine conditioning. Gotcha. Was just using that silly little game. And it only took, a few days really, because there's a few reps each time of going outside. Yeah. And I love those small, it seems like insignificant, easy reps that we can get in. And it's just a matter of knowing what we want and how we can kind of build it in. It's the insert instead of, what was that last time? Someone said that it was better. I think it was Liz that said that she likes to insert instead of invade. And I love that. And that was kind of how she talked about the workouts. You just insert it into things instead of making it this invasive thing.
Yeah. I actually noticed something earlier today that I was really appreciative that I had taught the dogs, and 'cause I'm renting this house with my friend Elizabeth down here in Florida for the month, right? And we have a couple of baby gates, and we have to be able to kind of move between. And I taught the dogs just and then their name, and they know to take turns. And it's one of those little simple behaviors that I'm like, just Powder or just Brava or whatever, that they know, and they all wait, and then I can do based off their name, only that dog comes through the baby gate. And it just makes life like easy. And it's something that I've always been very consistent about. Because even when I take them outside, if I take them out one at a time, I'm always using the same words, and they understand it's just one dog. And it's helped me just even getting in and out of the camper. Like, when I park my little red trailer at Robbins, right? And trying to get get the dogs out and everything, and just having something like that is just that consistency.
Yeah.
And I found that it's generalized in like crazy ways. And it's just like they understand the waiting, and it's just so simple and little, but it's just kind of made my life a lot easier,
Well, and I think we underestimate the value of training some of those husbandry behaviors.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and I'll be honest, when I had one dog,
Mm-hmm.
it was one
you
dog.
do a lot of training with one dog. I'm sitting there going, I'm looking at people with one dog. I'm like, wow, that dog's really well trained. I'm like, oh, you have one.
Correct.
Mine have 1/3 of that training, or 1/4 of it. Oh, sorry, why? One third and a half. I don't know. He's like got like 3.5 dogs here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. And I'm also amazed sometimes as how much my dogs are picking up. But I want to look at them and go, oh my gosh, good on you for figuring that out, because I so didn't train that.
Right.
You're brilliant. I am routinely amazed at how brilliant my dogs are, because they're doing stuff I didn't specifically train them to do, but they're like, oh yeah, well, this gets me paid.
Or they train each other to do the things you don't want them to do.
Yes,
also.
that too.
Oh, I'm learning smiling. I have got to stop smiling or laughing when they do things I don't like.
Oh, yeah.
It is so reinforcing to them. I think that's more reinforcing to them than even tugging and food. I really do. I think there's a study out there somewhere. I need to find that again. But it was something about the handler would like, or the owner would like pop out. They would see their face. They were measuring their brain, and they were taking pictures or something. I need to find that study. Do you remember that, or am I making stuff up?
No, you're not making it up. I don't.
Because maybe a listener can tag you in it.
And because there's something about they would give the dog a treat, and they would measure what was happening in their brain, and then when they would see the owner's face, then the brain would like super light up.
Yeah, they did something like with an MRI, like they got the dog to like stay still. And I think it was like the smell of their owner versus somebody else, and they just measured like brain waves.
Yeah, but it just makes me go, I really think me laughing just that lights them up. And of course, I laugh when they do the stupidest things that I don't want them to repeat.
Oh,
so then, Yukon did that on this last hike. I was hiking with my vet, and I love Krista. She's amazing. And he jumps and he misses the log. He was trying to, and his log's like 6 foot up in the air, and there's a log on the ground, and they're both parallel to the ground. And it's a tree that's fallen, and he's trying to launch off of the log on the ground and use that as a launch pad to get up onto the tree that's fallen. And he did it, and he kind of slipped, and he crashed hard. And I'm like, this is why I have an amazing vet. We're kind of laughing. And so what does he do because we're laughing? He does a fast zoomy lap around and repeats it, and then looks at me like, that was awesome, wasn't it? And I'm like, no, that wasn't awesome.
Oh no. Did you see the Facebook post I had of Prize bouncing?
No, I didn't know.
Oh my gosh. Of course I was laughing. Right. And
I did. Yes.
Yeah. And
I was thinking, put that on cue.
Oh yeah. Well, actually I found the song to go directly with it, but I think and I want to add it, but I think there might be some copyright things with that. Because the song like jump around, like that.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like so perfect for that. But so she and I were eating pizza because it's like this open concept kitchen. It's got like kind of this like bar area where we're sitting there on like bar stools, right? And we're eating pizza, and Prize is on the other side, and she's barking, but I'm talking to her, of course, because I think it's hilarious. And she springs like all 4 feet in the air, like 5 feet in the air. I don't, maybe not that high, maybe 4 feet, but like bouncing like a basketball. And it's the funniest thing. And she does it all the time. She just springs straight up in the air. Although I do think it's genetic because Diana's dog Phoenix.
Yes, does it?
I think it's genetic.
And they talk about, I think it was Joe Rosie was talking about it in one of the webinars recently about when you come in and you open the door, look to see what each of your dogs genetically or what they enjoy doing. Yeah. And then think about how you can use that, to understand them better and then to use that as reinforcement as well. Yeah. So she's like, you'll have a jumper, you'll have a spinner, you'll have a go get the thing and bring it to you, like all the dogs have their different things. Yeah.
Actually, I do have it on cue with Y because being a mini Aussie, right? Aussies bounce. I mean, they just do. So I actually have a hand cue that it's like a dribble cue, like an up down dribble. And if I'm excited, and as part of his reinforcement, actually, when he's all excited, I do like the up down dribble, and he bounces.
Nice.
And the bouncing is actually part of his reinforcement. I just hope that he can physically keep doing that because he's almost 12 now, but.
What a great reinforcement after a search.
Yeah.
He does. He's like, it's like, pointing, like a bounce. He just
and talking about motivation and reinforcement, it was really interesting to have her share the story of putting her dogs on the wobbly table.
Yeah.
She's having that where I'm listening to her and I'm like, oh, this is one of the reasons why in some selection testing, that's what you actually ask the dog to do. And can you train a dog to go through that? Absolutely. Yeah. And that training is part of the confidence building of telling, no, you know what? Your motivator's still there. Go, try and get the Kong.
Yeah.
That's why for bitey sports, you'll see the whole metal pipe, where the dog has to want to get the metal pipe because that's like the ultimate. And then they will throw it in like weird places. Dog has to like climb and go through all the stuff to get it. And then they put him in the kind of shaky tables, and then they get them on bite sleeves, and and then it's all the same testing, and it's all coming from Holland and kind of KNPV kind of testing things.
Yeah.
So, and for me, that became because with a puppy now, I'm doing all of this weird stuff with Flash, and I'm thinking about the fact that I'm already at 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 11 weeks old, taking her everywhere I can. And I'm like, guess what? We're playing tug with this here. And we're playing tug with this here. And you're running over the tops of bags of feed and all sorts of things. And it's fantastic fun, but that's all confidence building.
It sure is. Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And it's amazing. Even when you have like a dog, so Prize is actually very pressure sensitive, but if there's odor, she's diving in, under, around, whatever, I've seen her, just dive into just crazy places that I just wouldn't have anticipated that she would go, but there's odor, and it's just, it is interesting. It's really interesting.
Can I change topics a little? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Oh, sure.
Something else she said that really hit home. I always feel like everything is too people-y. Like I'm such an introvert. I just sent a thing out to a couple of friends. It's like a Peanuts there. It's like Snoopy, and it's like, I'm going to stay in bed today. It's too people-y out there.
Yes.
I'm like, yes, it is. And when she said that she it's not that she said she didn't care for people, but that she likes dogs way better than people. And I'm like, yes, thank you. But it made me go back to going back to the empathic action, because that's how we should be treating our people too. Because when we meet clients and we meet students, it's that first question of the how and the why. Yeah. So how are you feeling and why are you feeling that way? And then figuring out what they actually want help for. I think sometimes it takes a little bit of digging. They think they want help for ABC, but because we've listened to their how and their why, we actually recognize that it's something different a lot of times that they need help with.
Yeah.
And then we have to be so clever in how we offer suggestions.
Yes.
Because they want help, but they also need to know that they're not a total screw up because they aren't.
Yep.
And it's that, I love that dance of being able to communicate with people. And it goes back to when she said, and this is where I'm like trying to tie this together in my brain, and I think it's almost there. But she said, I want the least amount of manipulation for me to get what I want behavior-wise from my dog. And I think the same thing about when I interact with my students, at school or people that I'm working with.
Mm-hmm.
And manipulation, I think, is actually a good word, because it's not just, it's about environment. It's about thoughts. It's about feelings. Like, I don't want to change anything per se. I just want to figure out how I can insert myself and not invade, and try to make your life better. And in making your life better, it's going to make your dog's life better. And if I can make your dog's life better, it's going to make your life better. It's such a beautiful little, I just love it.
Well, and you were going through that whole entire thing, and the entire purpose of a coaching education, like becoming a certified coach, it was really interesting because that entire education was on how to listen, how to ask the right questions, and even how to ask questions, and how to provide suggestions. And actually, those suggestions often would turn into an additional question. And being careful on what verbs you used when you ask the question, so that you're not accusing somebody of something, right? And it sounds, I know people are like, oh my gosh, what do you mean you have to be careful on what you say? The answer is you do.
You do.
Because at some point, and I've had to learn through, and corporate America is a really, really good place that you have to learn. Concentrate on what they're trying to say, not how they're trying to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't want to have to be the person that somebody has to think about that when I'm communicating with them.
I wish I knew which podcast it was. I think it was Danny Miranda. And he talked about, I don't know, I might be wrong on that. I don't know. I'll find out. But he said something about when he was interviewing someone, he said that people ask questions, and not always for the answer, but for the vibe.
Yes.
And I love thinking about that in relation to our dogs, because when I say sit to my dog, I'm actually asking my dog, can you sit right now in this environment, in this situation, with everything we've done and everything we've trained. And I'm giving you the green light to get to do this thing. When I'm asking that question, I'm also checking a vibe. How fast are you doing it? With what enthusiasm are you doing it? And I loved that thought about questions are vibe checks. Oh, I love that. And that's where more of that empathy piece comes in, because the more that you can tie in or tap into those, you build that relationship and you build that connection. And that's where empathy really comes in. And that's, like you said, I think there's something about that with humans, we know that the relationships is what brings more success and longevity. And I wonder that about our dogs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Obviously, Tazzie gave us a ton to think about, which is fantastic.
Yes, she did.
And
I mean, we have a hard time talking to each other too.
I know.
So there's that.
Well, and I'm just excited she agreed to come back. So,
I'm excited that she invited me to go out and train with her. I'm just going to say that.
No, I'm just kind of jealous about that.
Well, you're the closest.
She invited you too.
Yeah, you're the closest.
I know, but she invited Crystal.
I think because I was a little more forward. I was the one that's like, we have to train. We must train. And she's like, come out. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, I should have just said, hey, I pass through Virginia all the time.
You know what? You now know how to find her. And if anybody wants to find her, in the show notes are links to the website. So you can find her and her new business, which hopefully by the time that we get this uploaded, her new website will be live and you can find her there. So thanks everybody for listening, and go train.
Detection Collaborative! We appreciate the time you spend with us. If you liked this episode, not only should you follow us so you don't miss the next one, but please also rate and review us in your favorite podcast app. For info on collaborating with us, go to k9detectioncollaborative.com. That's K9detectioncollaborative.com, where you can find our socials and pick up our latest monthly freebie. Join us again to talk training in the next episode.